Straight away blacklisting order for 2 years. And my lord, we produced those certificates which were available at the same time.
Intermodal alva?
Illa interim order illa.
Why?
I don't know. That's why it's come for consideration of interim relief. But
Yes,
issue
madam.
is,
As I'm filing my statement of objections,
Hmm.
even admittedly, even according to them, I may be permitted to place one.
ಹೇಳಿ.
Even according to them, the originally submitted ISO certificates are fraudulent, my lords.
Correct, they replaced it ಅಲ್ಲ?
Yes, my lords. And knowing fully well they have accepted the conditions of the tender, and according to the tender, they cannot resubmit any new documents once they have submitted along with the tender, my lords. And even according to the tender clause 2.21, there is corrupt or fraudulent practice, which means that they have misrepresented facts in order to influence a procurement process or the execution of a contract to detriment of the employer.
Yes.
yes, my lord, it is not a case, my lord, where I don't have the certification.
No, you did not have an appropriate certificate. It was fraudulent.
Yes, those
Correct.
3. But at the same time, I had
No,
3 more.
those 3, you accept it was fraudulent.
Those 3, my lord, appear to be
You
fraudulent.
did not give it immediately, but when they pointed out the fraud, you've given it.
I've given it. Then I've taken action against the agency which has submitted the certificates to me. I filed a police complaint against them.
What happened then?
The police complaint is pending, my lord, as is. But the point, my lord, is not that. Issue is whether I have certification. At the same time, I had the certification. I got it from 2 different agencies. One agency.
Why did the agency submit fraudulent documents when you did have the certification?
My lord, I had the no, it's this. What happened was one set of certification is given to one entity which certifies it. What has happened is the intermediary who submits or gets the certification has created the document and given it to us. We submitted it to them. We also did not know. But at the same time, Lord, we had gone to another agency also to get the certification. We've had this for the last 15 years, the same certification. And therefore, we submitted it to them. They verified that and said, that is correct, but we disqualify you from the tender because you can't submit new documents. We are not challenging the tender, my lord. Subsequently, a show cause notice comes saying, why did you submit those 3 documents? I said, yes, I made a mistake. Now, there is a new certificate. If, my lord, the situation was, I was not certified at all, and I gave wrong certificates, I'm definitely guilty of fraud. But if the certification
What
is there,
certificate are these?
my lord,
ISO certificate.
ISO certificates. Please see, my lord.
ISO certification illde they can't function at all.
My lords,
No, you have participated in their tender only for 15 years?
No, I have participated. The first time I participated in their tender. I have participated in all ports, my lord, till now. Oh, it's RFID, my lord.
Is it NMPT, na?
NMPT.
my lords, we've even written to the IAF seeking the authenticity of the certificate submitted, my lords. They've written an email saying that we've checked the accreditation of Hive Mind certification, and we can confirm that the certification body is not accredited by EIAC.
Correct.
And
ನಿಮ್ಮ objections ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇದೆಯಾ? ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ದಾರಾ?
Yeah, they've given it to me. As a matter of fact, the second certificates they've checked and they say it's correct. Please see the.
So why
objection.
nothing at the first instance and everything at the second instance?
Lord, we did not know, my lord, because we've got these certificates for a very long time. Every year, this has to be recertified. Therefore, we go to one agency, my lord, which gets these certifications. Now, that agency seems to have done something because we've paid them and given us 3 certificates, which we submitted. But at the same time, Lord, we went to another agency also to get the certification. That certification is proper. Now, they say, my lord, the entity which went and got the certification says, we went to another agency. That agency is not communicable anymore. And therefore, we are not in a
So
position to
madam,
give it to you.
if there is no certification, it's a different thing.
my
They
lords,
have certification, but the endorsing of that certification or renewal, what are you talking of?
It's a renewal of that certification. No, my lord, what happens is every year they check and then they ensure that we have that certification. If my lord kindly sees the.
Very difficult, sir.
No, my lord, but is there an intention to defraud? Lord, if I do.
ಮೆನ್ಸ್ರಿ ತರ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀರಾ?
Alala. Lord, when they say I have committed fraud and therefore I should be blacklisted, it is not certainly a case where you must blacklist me if I have committed fraud. That can only happen if I don't have certification and I give false documents.
No, don't have certification, I would have taken it if this certification would not require renewal every year. It requires renewal every year. So you have not got it renewed,
No, it's renewed.
No, you've not got it renewed at the relevant point in
It was
time.
renewed at the relevant point in time.
Where
Which
is
why
that-
I'm saying
where is
there are
that renewal?
2 sets. Please see them. I filed not a memo. Is that memo?
that memo is
Not that, where's the small memo, which has the ISO certificates. They produce it. Annexure R10, they produced it.
I've-
Where's the certificate? The certificate's not. No. Lord, can you take my memo, my lord? This is the certificates which I sent to them. Please see the dates of the certification.
27th March
2024.
Date of initial registration 24.
Yes,
Validity up to 26/25.
5.
Recertification date
Is next
up to
in 2027.
2027.
Yes.
All
Now
right.
the tender, my lord, was
Date of the tender
date of submission of bids was 30th of March
2024.
2024.
Huh.
Therefore, my lord, this certificate was in
27th March is already there.
already there. And I've been having it for many years. And if your lordship sees the previous certificate, that certificate is a few days earlier. And Lord, I've produced the entire correspondence now, which
Yes,
is
madam.
My lords, for a moment, if your lordship may take my statement of objection. Page number 27, my lords.
Now, what is the consequence? They have not
I
permitted.
can't participate in any tender right now by virtue of this order. And I am
No, only NMPT or any tender?
in MPT, my lord, they've said blacklisted, but every other tender of every port where I participated, have you been blacklisted in other tenders? And Lord, most importantly,
Yes, madam.
My lords, for a moment, page number 27.
Yes.
Even though the bidders meet the qualifying criteria as per clause 2.4, they are subject to be disqualified and debarred for a period of 3 years from participating for tenders at New Mangalore Port Authority, duly informing the MSME authorities, if applicable, if they have made misleading or false representations in the form of statements, attachments submitted in the proof of qualification requirements, and or record of poor performance such as abandoning the works, not properly
You've
completing
gone by the
contract.
tender condition. No qualm about it.
Please, my
Now,
lords, as per the
the
tender
issue is
conditions.
with regard to ISO certificates. Correct?
Please.
ISO certificate is registered on 27th March. Tender is 30th March. Validity is up to 26th March 2025, which was in subsistence. Next recertification comes about on 26th March 2027. You have not copy Kotil?
I have
I've given a
this.
copy.
Ah.
I've given a copy. And this was sent to them as well. As soon as I pointed out, my lord, that there is a mistake in your certificate, I gave the new certificates to them. I sent them an email and sent it. They said no.
No, if there was no certification, now certification is already there.
My lords, clause, page
You
number.
forget about the clause in the tender, madam. Correct. As on the date of tender, he has not given it.
No, my lords, even according
See,
to the
there are two
tender
things.
document.
If he does not have registration itself, then yes, he has played fraud. He does have the registration. Registration is valid up to 26 March 2025.
My lords, if at that
Certificate comes as a consequence of the registration.
If
Correct.
at that time they had the certificates with them, what was
They
the
have given.
difficulty? That was after my communication, my
No,
lords.
no,
that,
no. They didn't know that it was fraudulent.
My lords,
If someone has a registration, why would I give the fraudulent certificate? For what purpose?
my lords, the
If there is no
authority has to-
registration, definitely they have played fraud.
The authority has to go by the tender conditions, and page number 30 may be taken. They say that no new documents or work orders shall be entertained
not
which was
challenging
not
the
part
tender.
of the
My
original
rejection in the
submission.
tender,
ಈಗ
I'm not
ಬ್ಲಾಕ್ ಲಿಸ್ಟಿಂಗ್ ಚಾಲೆಂಜ್ ಮಾಡಿರೋದವರು ರಿಜೆಕ್ಷನ್ ಆಫ್ ಟೆಂಡರ್ he is not challenging.
No, my lords.
Now blacklisting cannot sustain. Prima facie.
If your lordship may take up this matter next week, I will satisfy
Then
your
I will
lordship.
stay
with-
this.
No, my lords.
Where?
Tomorrow, maybe take.
No.
We have several tenders, my lord, which are coming up. For a mistake, my lord, of someone else, I shouldn't support.
The petitioner is before this court calling in question an order which prohibits the petitioner from participating in the tender hyphen any kind of tender in any of the ports. The respondent who has directed that the petitioner is blacklisted is the New Mangalore Port Trust. The petitioner participates in a tender and submits certain certificates, i.e. the ISO certificates. The certificates are found to be fabricated on a later point in time by the tender accepting authority and communicates to the petitioner that the petitioner has played a fraud. The learned senior counsel submits that came as a bolt from the blue, as the petitioner themselves were not aware with regard to the agency creating, agency printing a fabricated certificate and submitting to them, and they submitting to the NMPT. The learned senior counsel would further submit that as soon as the communication comes about, the certificates were procured from some other agency and submitted to the respondent. Therefore, the submission with regard to the certificates was complied with. The learned counsel appearing to the respondent NMPT would vehemently refute the submission, contending that the petitioners that no new document can be accepted after the tender. Whatever document was with the tender would be valid throughout. Though the submission would become acceptable in the first blush, the issue in the list is not with regard to the petitioners not having the certificate of register, not having the registration itself. Certification of registration is a consequence of registration. The learned senior counsel has produced documents to demonstrate that the registration was granted on 27th March 2024 and the tender was called on 30th March 2024.
Its submission.
Bids were submitted on 30th March 2024, and therefore, on the date of submission of the bid, the certificate of the petitioner was valid. The certificate of the registration of the petitioner had happened. The certificate was immediately replaced from a different agency, and those certificates are not found fault with. In that light, the petitioner becomes entitled to an interim order. ಕೇಳಿದಿರಾ ಇಲ್ವಾ?